And I think we're live. Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to do this episode, first of all, we're late for Sunday, completely forgot about doing it then. But also that Sunday night, I had this nightmare. And it's the same nightmare I've had several times where I wake up screaming in the middle of the night. So it always starts out like this, like I'm in a private setting, I'm not expecting anyone.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden I hear a door knock. And I go over, I turn off the lights, I lock the door, and I hide. But then you can clearly hear the door gets unlocked somehow. And I'm just screaming my lungs off, but yet no one can hear me. So I scream even louder and louder until finally I wake myself up.
Wow. Wow, that's intense.
And I mean, it's not the first time I've had this dream, but it got me thinking um, when it comes to martial arts, I'm probably not doing enough. So I mean, you're kind of thinking like, oh, how'd you jump from like that to martial arts? And honestly, when it comes to the martial arts mindset, yes, there's a philosophical aspect, there's the health benefits, but at the end of the day, it's also about fighting at a core.
Hmm.
And by me having this sort of reaction of fear, right? There's the it's the sympathetic nervous system that controls the fight or flight response. And if I'm having this sort of flight response instead of fight, then I haven't been doing enough training to train that flight out of me.
Uh, there's a lot I have to say about that.
Okay, go ahead.
Um, but I'll summarize it in I think that people you can't take the tiger out of the jungle, so to speak. So fear is an innate part of us. How you choose to use it is up to you. In that dream, have you ever tried turning towards what you're afraid of? Are you in control, like in this dream
It doesn't feel
where
like it
you
at
go
all.
and lock?
No.
Yeah, because like I don't think you would lock the door. With a newfound set of skills, and you might want to try them out, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
you might want to like actually use what you've been training for. If later on it sets in, don't don't approach shit, like that. Like don't approach the serial killer. Don't approach. But starting out, you want to get in there and use it. So if there's any way you can, you said it's a recurring dream. So
Yeah.
once you recognize the dream, at what point are you recognizing this dream?
Right before the scream.
Okay. If there's any chance the next time the stream happens, once you're aware that this is the dream, turn towards what you're afraid of.
So kind of do that whole lucid dream sort of a thing and like control how you're dreaming. Because I've never been able to do that.
It's possible, dude. It's so possible. Like I do that frequently. It's then you realize, oh, this is just passing time in another state.
Hmm.
Um, it sounds simple. So once you recognize, same thing. I've been in this situation before. Once you have that thought, I've been in this situation before, or this seems familiar. That's your key. That's your key to say, well, what happens this time if I turn towards what I'm afraid of? And then you play with an inner unwritten destiny that seems to be playing itself out in your own head. Because you already know like you said, after a certain point, once you recognize it's the same dream, after that point you lose control.
Yeah.
So what if your chance to have control was before that?
Okay.
So once you recognize it's the same thing, turn towards it. Just think, turn towards it this time. Who's at the door? Ask yourself questions. You could, yeah, that's one of my simplest ways. Like, just start asking yourself questions. Who's at the door? Where am I? What is this? Don't try to go too far into it, because if you reason away the whole reality thing and you realize it's just a dream, then you can wake up prematurely and then you'll be up at like 3:30 a.m. or something. But going forward towards the fear in martial arts um, aspect, I think you can't necessarily remove fear from people without some sort of a chemical change in the brain from a quote unquote normal person who feels fear, rather than a sociopath who may not feel fear. Um, and so the idea that you need to train more doesn't necessarily mean that masters don't feel fear.
Not to say that they don't feel it, of course, but I think that because they've done enough training, they put themselves in these sort of situations where, whether it's sparring or actually fighting with another person, that they have actually managed to, or they've been, they're now at a point in which they can manage those feelings.
There's still some stuff that blitzes us in life, like a car accident or a death of a family member. It may have a very profound effect on someone. Some things you just can't plan for like that. I feel. I mean, you like, yeah, sure. If you were a psychologist and you knew exactly what feelings you were going through, and you knew exactly the processes that were taking place inside yourself, and the grief processes involved, sure. But like, I think with every unscripted fight, like a break-in,
Yeah.
um, I think that's entering a new realm each and every time, because you don't know their skill level, and they come into your realm. Just in the break-in scenario, they come into your realm and you've got every right to defend yourself in your home, provided you're not shooting somebody as they're running away. I
Right.
mean, I
Yeah.
think that's pretty much standard practice there.
Well, I mean, but
Um,
when you're talking about that, that's, equal force and issues of the law and all that. That's beside the point. I mean, so I mean, like the difference between what I was feeling at that night with that dream versus, say, sparring with someone, right? Like
uh,
sparring, you're in that setting, it's very comfortable, and when you get things right, it's almost like sex, right? Your
yeah,
body and their body, and you're trying to sync up with each other and trying to, like, get one over the other, sort of a thing. Very beautiful.
yeah.
But that
Syncopation.
is, yeah, but I mean, that's so specific, right? Like,
With fighting and martial arts and that one feeling.
yeah, yeah. So, like, I mean, like, when you're sparring and you get that sort of like feeling where everything's flowing, it's great,
Mm.
right? But then, let's say when push comes to shove and you actually have to use your skills, if your mindset isn't ready to actually start using it when you need it the most, then you're really screwing yourself over. And I mean, I know everyone's different and all that, but at the same time, you still need to find a way to, like, I need to train myself out of this.
Yeah, true statement.
So, I mean, because I think, I mean, it feels like, well, you've definitely been in the martial arts field longer than I have. I mean, like, what sort of situations have you felt, um, you were trained to kind of not like numb yourself per se, but to prepare yourself for unknown situations.
Honestly, knowing the law, um, like when bums came in and tried to come into the dojo and uh, push around or bully my sensei, and I stepped up and I got him out and I walked him down the street and then I called the cops. Basically, knowing, not knowing, but like having a firm understanding of if something escalates, where is it going to escalate, and what are my rights? Um, Out on the street, I mean, if anything escalates at all, ever call the cops. Don't no question. Don't even try to handle it yourself. I mean, unless there's like some weird feeling you've got that you're being, harassed or whatever. Obviously, you're going to have some sort of prescience in that moment. Like, if like there's some sort of corrupt police scene or something, or like this is sanctioned by police, whatever. Um, but your average situation escalating on the streets, you're going to have the idea that you know, you should be calling them. There's no I'm going to take this in my hands because you're on their turf. You're on where police have jurisdiction,
Yeah,
and that's just their job. That's what they're paid to do. Use it. It's you. That's what you pay them for. Tax dollars and everything. So you're not using a service basically if you're not calling the cops. Uh, that's what they're there to do. So that's, again, going back to what you're talking about, fighting martial arts and the fighting spirit,
yeah,
and training. It's all about you and how and what you bring to the table. Like, so some in my experience, just having like the show of force, um, the calm esteem, the I could fuck you up, man. Like, don't don't take this to where you think you want it to go. Like, let's back down. Let's talk about this. If I messed up, if I owe you an apology, let's go there. Um, Connect with people. Don't do a repetition of historical past and just destroy everything. I mean, it's more about connecting. And the more you spar, the more you connect with other people, the more you want to connect with others. The more you build on that, like your own self, but this esteem that lets you project force without even touching anyone, without even like, it's not magic, but it's a the way that guy's standing right now and how he's smiling at me and I'm getting hecka violent at him. Maybe you give the opponent the opportunity to back down. Maybe I'm fucking up right now.
right. So whether it's in a martial arts context or out of a martial arts context, when have you been able to de-escalate things? And were there any situations where you felt that you couldn't de-escalate it?
Yeah, yeah. Situations. So let's go with the last bit there. Situations where you can't de-escalate, you walk away. Um, you put yourself, you keep your safety in mind. Don't turn your back to somebody who's got a weapon. Um, don't threaten them and then walk away, sort of thing. Mind what's happened up until now, and how much you think they're willing to follow through with this. If they're looking like just seething, like they're just gonna, as soon as you turn your back, I'm gonna knock you out. And, don't turn your back. If it's a situation that's not going to de-escalate, just let them know. If if they're going to bring it, that's what they're asking for. If And then offer the olive branch. thing. But with situations that couldn't de-escalate, I mean, just walking away has helped. Maybe.
Well, let's not even put this in a fighting context then. Let's say the workplace.
Okay.
Have there been? Do you feel that there have been moments where you felt that you couldn't de-escalate the situation?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. At that point where there's no violence or threat involved, yes, walk away. Realize, like, as soon as you start to see in your head, in your fighter's mind, where you start to see if this happens this way, if this happens this way, if this happens this way, or if I push this issue, he's going to bring up this, or he or she's going to bring up this. Stop. You almost always are able to just disconnect and walk away. And that's something that's very hard to see. In my personal life, there is, in my current situation, there is an absolute abject dissonance to management style between my leaders and myself. And once it hits that, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that. Once it hits that, like, I mean, obviously they're going to have the clout to say, do this.
Right.
Before you give up all your bargaining chips or ability to de-escalate the situation, walking away always works at work, because in the end, almost always everybody's paid to just be there, right? If
Yeah.
anything, I mean, you can flub up what you call work or what your requirements are for the day. I mean, you can definitely say, oh, I'm just having a rough day. I need to take some time out to myself, and everyone's by and large going to understand. Oh, wow, that was a situation there. Or those two walked out. I heard some arguing. They came back, and now they're not working so hard. But I kind of understand. It's almost always nobody's going to come down on you and just re-escalate tensions because you're not working. I mean, that's typically, I don't know about like a factory unionized setting, or some other sort of like other settings where that may be like somebody just comes back in there and they just keep going at you, going at you, going at you.
Yeah.
But like an office setting, that's, if two people walk away, you hear some loud noises and then they come back and it just looks like they're not quite there. 9 times out of 10 people leave you alone, and that's just one bad day, and that's it. And the next day you come in, and you 9 times out of 10 you can really just come in there and just expect a different day. So my personal experience, just walking away and letting time de-escalate an issue. If you don't have the words, if you don't have the means, if you don't have like the or if that person's immune to that sort of thing, if they really just don't have to give a fuck about that and they can take their own stance and like hold hard lines and stuff, and it's just like a stalemate. Sorry, if it's a stalemate,
Yeah.
time heals all wounds in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just thinking about how. And I guess that's another problem I have too, is that I get involved with too many different things all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So then when it comes to training in one specific thing, I don't know, man. Like if I had to train in one specific thing, I don't know if I could do it. Like doing the same repetitive thing over and over and over again.
Are you talking about that kung fu?
Yeah. But I mean, that is the very essence of Kung Fu itself. It is doing everything over and over and over again until you actually perfect it.
Martial arts, Japanese,
Yeah,
Muay
yeah,
Thai.
martial arts. Yeah, but I mean that is the definition of kung fu itself. Is that kung fu is, I mean, everyone translates it as like Chinese martial arts, but really, kung fu, or rather, kung fu, really is, it is putting an effort into something. That's the essence of the definition of that term.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me to train the fear out of myself, like I need a hard look at myself to see like whether or not I can do it. Because like even like this past weekend, you know, being sick, I didn't do anything. The most I did was like maybe um, what is it called? So in Cantonese, it's called zamzhong, which is like it means like standing in a specific position and not moving. So it's like you're working at a stationary form and you're concentrating on just one or two things.
That's it's pretty important that you still do that though, even if you're not feeling well.
Yeah, but it was kind of like, you know, me standing there and then, you know, I'm in front of a TV screen. So while I'm doing this, I'm also listening to what's going on the TV. And
Yeah,
luckily, it's a program that I've already seen, but you know, still.
I, like when you say TV, most people think like Friends or Maury Povich or something. You know, you don't watch that sort of content. You're usually watching like information rich content on TV.
That is true. Yeah. So it was a program where it's a Chinese program where a guy is actually talking about certain books and
Yeah,
concepts within these books. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So I mean, you're still doing self enrichment even when you're sick. So I think so. I think
but it's so
fear.
easy to do something like the enrichment is much easier when it's just mental. But when it comes to doing the physical enrichment that
Mhm,
I need to do,
mhm.
I'll admit I'm fucking lazy. I'm a fucking lazy piece of shit. I'm
No,
just gonna say it.
you might be working against some sort of like stigma that's been placed on you because when we hung out, when you visited last, your body's getting in shape, dude. Like you got some delts and like trapezius and delts going on, like and like your arms are more defined, and uh, when you were doing the Qingyi, your there was a stance there. There was like a more chiseled martial arts practitioner stance. Like so because you don't see it, and you're you every day, um, that doesn't mean you're not still doing things and making progress and effort.
Yeah, but I
Just
mean, that is all out of fear, fear
okay.
of disappointing my master, and
Mhm,
honestly, with this upcoming school where I'm going to be out of the country for 15 months,
mhm.
I hope I can continue my martial arts, but it's going to be fucking hard. I don't even know if I can really do it. Maybe 30 minutes here and there, but definitely not like the minimum of like 1 hour that he wants.
When would you say you started? Because what was that, like 2015?
No, 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 not even. No, no, no. Just last year actually.
Okay,
Last year is when I found these guys, and
okay,
then he didn't start us on Xingyi until September.
okay. Um, as like a first year student, it is quite possible. So maybe like have the next couple of times that you're with them, be just check my form, check my form, check my form. And since you know you'll be coming back, pardon me, have that be the name of the game. You know,
Yeah.
what breadcrumbs can you lead me or give me so I can make my own way back and find my way back from the trail that I'm about to set out on, so that when you're training, like even if it's just standing in one stance, you know that's on point. You know it looks good. You've got a muscle memory going on now. You're starting to remember shapes and exact amounts of force, and this body knowledge that comes with time just hammering this stuff out. So but let's go back. So the fear thing,
Yeah.
dude, I mean, maybe some reading might help. um some classic stories, uh struggles of past martial artists. They had it
Hmm.
fucking rough. No fucking joke. Like Japanese fucking wilderness was no joke. Um, Cold, harsh climate, not fertile. Japanese farmers came to California. You know, they were like showing us shit. Chinese farmers came to California. They were showing us shit. Us Americans.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so like go like maybe study some older stories, like maybe comb over the Romance of the Three Kingdoms or something, and or like try to find like some sort of like an avatar of the past that you can learn what they did in their environment to overcome fear, because fear was very fucking real for them. Getting mauled by fucking wolves was very fucking real. Brigands on the side of the road was like, I mean, you know, you could have a short life. The average lifespan was very short then for a real reason. Um, so there's that. And then I would say check out some stories of the past. And then fear is just fear of the unknown. That's all fear is. That's all fear is. So, you know, maybe sometime just learn a bit about first, like, you know, kind of throw yourself through the ropes as far as like, you know, like take yourself to a hardcore training level, like kind of really push it out. That way you kind of know
Yeah.
your limits. You know, oh well, I could keep up an elevated heart rate for about 3 to 5 minutes. That's it. So my fights, I'm gonna end them at the 3 minute mark. They
Right.
shouldn't last longer than that. No stuff like that, like hardcore facts about like, you know, I can take for myself 2 minutes and 30 seconds or whatever, a minute and 35 seconds. So whatever I do, it's got to be real. It's got to be hard, fast, and then pick out stuff that, you know, just basically just educate yourself, because fear to me is fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Maybe like, so sometimes fear can also highlight conflict in self. So at one point, like between Aikido and Wing Chun's very, very effective, very lethal. And Aikido is not. It can be. I mean, yeah, I mean, you can leave the choice up to them, but ideally, you
Well, it's
know,
just a different thing. I mean, like Wing Chun is very much direct. It's about triangles and straight lines, right? Your triangle is your structure, and also moving around the person. But then Aikido, very much like Tai Chi, if I'm not
Aikido's
mistaken,
got a
is
triangle.
circles.
Aikido's got a triangle, a circle, a square.
Okay, well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like ineffective per se. I mean, compared to like
Yeah.
Tai Chi, at least, like most people think that Aikido can do more damage than say, or Aikido, Jiu-Jitsu, arts like that would do
Yeah,
more damage than they would think of, like, say, Tai Chi.
it's really hard once you start talking about like what I would call the healing arts. Even though Aikido comes from the sword and there is sword practice and it teaches you like one armed or two on one, um, with like a one handed weapon, two hands on the one handed weapon. Like it teaches you like combat readiness, I guess, in that regard, but it's not in a manner of destroying your opponent.
Right. So to get sidetracked a bit
Mhm.
away from fear, I guess,
Right.
now that you're talking about weapons,
Yeah.
at what point do you actually start to learn how to use the weapon? Because, with Wing Chun, you have to go through the first three hand forms, and then you learn the wooden dummy, and then that's when you start learning the wooden pole.
Hmm.
And from the wooden pole, which is really more of a training for how to use a spear, then you move to the double knives. So you normally don't get to the weapons until you're like really advanced. So with Aikido, is that the same thing? Like you don't
No,
move on to the weapons? No, no.
no,
Huh.
right away. You could jump into it right away.
Interesting.
I, from what I've seen, I would like to see more of that. There's a very separate view on um, taijutsu and um, even suwariwaza, like the kneeled. So there's standing aikido, and then there's kneeled aikido, um, and then I guess like I said, I didn't train into black belt level, but there's other aspects where they throw in hip forms, reversals, um, and where you're taking. It's really interesting where you're taking someone else's the nage and you flip that and you become the nage, the person doing the technique, and the other person becomes the ukeudo, uh, the person who's receiving the technique.
Yeah.
So um, it's it gets super interesting. But so I would recommend that people jump into it right away. If you have just a burgeoning curiosity about it, don't go brandishing it in front of you like your fellow students or whatever. But I think having awareness or maybe touching an objective for yourself, have a real sense, a real moral compass when it comes to like, don't just get up there and just because you're gonna like cut yourself. You know, like
Right.
don't fuck around. But if there's somebody that's willing to show you, and in other styles they don't show you until way later, but this one person's willing to show you, I would say that's a special moment.
Hmm.
Either you're experiencing a lapse of judgment on a master or not, but go with that opportunity to learn. Weapons just like it's awesome when you extend yourself through an inanimate object that you're just holding on to, but all of a sudden you make a part of yourself. Um, it's really awesome. I think as adults, because that's who we are, and that's the point in our lifetimes where we're starting to take in this knowledge. Like kids with the batons and shit, and they're like, and like you got the what is the martial arts of the southern United States, where they have those competitions and the kids just really go all out, and other martial artists are like, yeah, that's great, that's a great demonstration of a kid twirling something, a
Yeah.
rehearsed, choreographed thing, but realistically, there's a real extension that's happening. I mean, it's connection. It's not about breaking or destroying.
So, okay, back to the fear and the mindset thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look for this video. Have you heard of a guy named Adam Chan?
Perhaps what's his shtick? Did I lose you? Did your internet drop? Yo. Well, so his browser crashed. Apparently, this session is still live, but he should be coming back shortly. In the meantime, I'm not even really sure how to pause this thing. Should be coming back any moment, unless I have to join him. There we go. There's
Yeah.
one.
I mean, I'm
There we
back
go.
online, but then the problem now is that I don't think are we still live?
Yeah.
Wow, that should not be working, but okay.
Yeah. Someone held the door open.
Woohoo! So let me see if I can get back in here then. Holy crap, man. Stupid browser crash.
Yeah,
I
stupid
mean,
browser.
what point did I cut off exactly?
Adam Chan.
Adam Chan. Okay, so if I can get back into the browser and actually show you what's going on with this
Mhm.
search of mine. So Adam Chan, this guy, he's a Wing Chun guy. He's based in Vancouver, Canada. And you see, click to join. Click to join. There we go. Let's see if I can do this again without actually screwing things up. Screen share, application window. There we go. Hopefully. So I don't know if you're seeing this right now. No, you're not seeing that. What the hell? Hold on. Yeah, okay. Let me stop the Google Hangouts. Why are you doing this to me? Application window. This is it. There we go. So Adam Chan, let me see if I can find that video.
Should one of the browsers or accounts be muted?
Yes. There we go.
Alrighty.
Killer Instinct? Let me see here. Okay. This ad, whatever. I don't care about you, ad. No, this isn't it. Dang it. It wasn't Mindset then. It was, oh yeah, it was Wing Chun versus, I think. I don't know. I watched a bunch of his videos the other day and let's see, improve timing. So yeah, this is the actual video actually. So what he was talking about here was about what you need to do, like the differences between most people who say, oh yeah, they're a martial artist, quote unquote, but they're they're not like a boxer, right? And he's saying basically like you're looking down on these guys, um, but they are actually going in the ring, boxing every day, running, punching, doing whatever it takes, right? And most people who join martial arts, they call themselves martial artists, but maybe they join for the health aspects. Maybe they join because they say they like the philosophy. And my point of view is that the difference between a martial artist versus say a just a simple fighter is that the fighter is just concentrating on the mechanics of beating someone down. There's no moral values to any of it. There's no philosophy whatsoever. But I
Yeah.
think he makes a good point in that many people who do join martial arts nowadays, they're over concentrating on the philosophy itself and not enough on the the fighting aspect of things.
Hmm.
Yeah. So if you get a chance, you can, you know what? I'll give you send you the link and check it out when you are free.
Nice. Alrighty. Yeah. I checked out. So it looks like he's got an online training. But that's pretty cool. I definitely agree with that. I think, but it's hard to say. I mean, I hope that people, when they go into martial arts, they don't just think, "Oh, I can fight." Now that I'm doing this, now I can fight. Now that
But a
I'm
lot
doing
of
this,
people
now I
do
can
go in
stand
with
up.
that mindset.
Yeah,
They do think like, oh,
yeah,
I've learned one or two moves. I'm a fighter.
yeah,
I'm a real martial artist, but you're really not.
yeah. I read an Imdra story about how this dude trained. He was getting bullied, and he trained in kickboxing. And he saw his bully on the street, and the bully tried the same shit, and he squared up on him, and he got his ass beat. And he was like, "That's the first real ass beating that bully had given to him." And he was like, and I wholly sold myself on the idea that training myself in any regard was doing enough so that I could do this. And that dovetails in on what you were just saying there. So again, with the fear thing in yourself, yeah, I mean, there may be a real sense, like, I mean, there's going to be a shock when you take your first punch to the face.
Right.
Um, depending on where that is. I mean, if someone catches you in the palate here, I mean, that's really gonna freaking hurt. Someone catches you in the nose, it's gonna hurt. Someone crosses you, there's a chance you can get knocked out. Back here in the jaw, you could dislocate the jaw. I mean, there's getting hit in the face sucks. So
Right.
your first real shock in a fight is really gonna you're not going to have time to take accountability for or like damage assessment or whatever. um, so with that, if there that's like one of those things, like if there is a lingering sense of fear in you, that can be a motivator, but that can also be an indicator that you haven't trained enough. Don't take this to the streets. That's why I will always say, use the police. Like, don't don't think you can handle this on your own. No, life's not about that. First of all, like, our training in martial arts and all this that we're trying to do, like, yes, yes, this is about a martial aspect, but our lives now don't touch any aspect of where this came from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the brigands on the side of the road, the oppressing regime with a walled castle. You know, like this, our lives don't touch that anymore. So when we go to martial arts, we can approach it from a philosophical aspect because our lives, by and large, are peaceful. If they're not, then you know, don't be focusing on the philosophy if your life's in chaos around you, because you're setting yourself up for failure there.
Right. Hey, are you able to hear me right now, or am I coming in too low?
It's a little too low, but it's comfortable. I mean, if
Okay.
somebody turned up their, I don't know how I sound.
Let me double check this then. Sorry.
No problem.
There we go. How about that?
Yeah,
Any
it's
better?
good. Good
Okay,
volume.
good. Okay, yeah. So yeah, but ultimately once again it's the balance between like martial aspect and then also like say for instance like that whole thing with the Kyudo people that I was with. Everyone is telling me is about, it's not like Western archery. This is meditative. This is an art form, blah, blah. And they keep telling themselves these things. But it didn't feel like these people were at peace at all, at least not around me. I mean, they hated my guts, I'm pretty sure. But regardless, they took what was an art with a martial aspect to it, shooting the shit out of people with an arrow
Yeah.
and then simply coming up with these religious rules around these things so that they can make themselves feel better and then call it meditation or meditative Zen archery. I mean, when it gets to that point, it's like, why do it? Why?
Okay. But like that I mean, I'm sorry, but that kind of highlights the fact that you don't know what the people who are doing it for. If if everyone gave you that vibe, that would, to me, highlight the fact that I'm not touching on a past feeling of the times that created that martial art. So if the art, like let's say it just started from like how to get your body like just chill so that you can just pull that arrow back and release it and make a kill every time you shoot, and then it turns into a meditative art, how it transforms into that, the masters that teach that and pass that knowledge down, that's how you're seeing that now, so to speak. Like people aren't just picking up a book, oh hey, now that I've read this book, I'm a master now, so I should go around and proclaim that, and then other people recognize, oh hey, there's the master of that art.
Right.
um, so this knowledge had evolved into peace, into meditation, creation, bonding, synergy, rather than destroying, cutting, killing. That's where like uh, that would be a whole other topic. But my whole thing on MMA is yes, they're effective, but I mean, are they going to stick around because it's not really a culture?
Well, it kind of is actually. I mean, if you look at it from the just the pure aspect in which they are improving themselves. I mean, yeah, the ultimate goal is to beat the other guy down and all that and be the most
Mm-hmm.
effective fighter. Yeah, yeah, there's that. But even then there's there are MMA guys who are kind of introducing more of the traditional martial arts aspects back into MMA actually. Like, a
Really?
couple years ago they'd be like, oh, that wouldn't work in a real fight. But now I mean, from what I hear, I'm I'm not very much familiar with MMA, but this is what I hear from other people. They say that people are actually introducing some stuff like that you wouldn't have seen in MMA at all before.
I'm still hearing the same old, same old. Like they're still just distilling out through, training alchemy. They're getting the most lethal bits and they're applying it to their trade because that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know, man, but hey,
I'm strongly on the keep the culture alive, share it, experience it, be a part of it. If it fits you, drink it in,
I don't know. It's just that
and
it
let it
gets to a
change you.
certain point. It gets to a certain point where it feels like you've kind of gotten away from the intention of the
With
art
what?
itself. Well, like back to the I'm sorry, just going back to the archery thing, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
you're saying, it became this thing of meditation. It left the idea of having to kill people and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, the people that were there, the people aside, the master was actually pretty cool. He had talked about how the different schools of archery concentrate on different things. The school that we were a part of, the reason why it's very meditative is the fact that it was because they learned it from officers. So the officers, they were way at the back. So their bows were much heavier, much wider, or not wider, but like longer, powerful. They had to shoot long distances. And
Hmm.
also at the same time, they had the opportunity to actually take the time to carefully shoot their people down. Now, as opposed to the archers that were on the front lines, they had a much shorter draw. And so it was very much quick, like bam, 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 bam. So
Huh.
these would be the guys that would carry both the sword and the bow and arrow. So that's more like, say, I think it's called the Satsuma school, is more like that.
Hmm.
Yeah. But I mean, regardless, when you take an art and then at what point does it become I know I've asked this in previous podcasts. Like, at what point does it become useless, really? Because to me, I mean, I didn't find it meditating at all. Going through all those steps and doing all that shit, it was not meditative to me at all. Because, and once again, this is trying to get at the martial arts aspect. The more you add into something,
Hmm.
the more thought it's going to require you to have. And when you're actually in the fight, you don't have that opportunity to be thinking all that much, right? That's why the whole thing with Wing Chun is that it's very direct. Now I understand. I mean, like if you, and that's the thing with training. If you are actually able to train yourself to the condition in which you can do a lot of these things without even having to think about it,
Hmm.
then that's another issue. But that requires so much training, right? And it's just like it's exactly the reason why an art like Tai Chi, at its very core, it was a martial art that was, I mean, just like any other, how can I beat this other guy down? I mean, of course, they had a differing philosophy from most other people, which
Uh-huh.
is why eventually it went from a martial art to what people now use simply just for the health aspects. I'm pretty sure back in the days, yeah, there was a lot of um, like TCM or traditional Chinese medicine, like the philosophy behind that was also influencing a lot of the thought behind Tai Chi. But then when you're just concentrating on that aspect, then Tai Chi no longer then becomes a fighting martial art,
Right.
which is
I
why,
think.
go ahead.
Well, I think a lot of people get into this meditative thing, and the kinesthetic sort of like movement that brings cathartic feelings in them. I think that they start to realize at some point moving helps. That meditation in this regard helps, and it's what works for them. And there's just a lot of people. I mean, that sounds simple, but like if you take like let's just take like Seattle. you're going to have people who are, that's a lot of people in a small area. The idea that every single one of them who studies Tai Chi is trying to study Tai Chi to fight, when it there's been an evolution in the art towards allowing for that meditative aspect to be there. Like, oh, what was it? Trying to think of one of like the dancing martial arts.
Oh, capoeira.
Capoeira was it was a, that's, no, like older than that though. I'm really pausing on the names of these, but essentially where,
What's the country of origin?
well, like there's like some in Chinese, there's some in Korean, that basically there was no need to have a martial component to this, and that they could be used in defense of self. I'm really pausing on the name of that, man. But circling back around, that there's, yeah, so like you can have practitioners and students like with like yoga, where I mean it's stretching your body and it's doing all these things, and it spreads out to a wider audience because it touches aspects that are more comfortable to people.
Yeah.
Fighting may not be comfortable to certain people, but they still want to be a part of it. Like volunteer police, they're really way out of shape, but they still like the grind. They still like the regime. They still like the order, the way paperwork's processed, all this. They're still in that mentality. Veterans, um, you know, it's this. You're a part of a climate or a culture, or you can easily assimilate those processes into yourself, but you're not necessarily still a part of that whole group. So you have like people with diabetes that are just way too big. They can't do some of the stretches, man. They can't touch their feet, you know, but they still want to be there. They still show up. They still pay. They still help the dojo or the school out.
Right.
So that's how I think there's, but then again, those people, and going back to Adam Chan,
Yeah.
what he's saying, and I completely agree with, they should not be using the words, I'm a fighter, I'm a martial artist. In the regards, I could defend myself if you came at me. But then again, that's on what lessons these people are getting from their masters. They really, like, if their master is teaching them this stuff, they really shouldn't teach them. They should also incorporate what I'm saying. They should also incorporate, don't try to start a street fight. Don't start shit with this, because I'm not teaching you this to fight. I'm teaching you this for yourself, sort of thing.
I mean, I'm sure every master, at one point says that, but at the same time, I mean, they also like to say like, oh yeah, like this is going to be effective on the streets too, because you can't not say that, right? Because if you admitted like, no, this is really
Right,
just this is
right.
this is really just something that we do, for fun or like for
Yeah,
whatever, but it can't be effective on the streets because then it's like, well,
right.
why am I learning this martial arts then?
Why the fuck am
Lose
I here?
money.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. You're trying to sell a product.
Yeah.
That is where the problem is. And martial arts teaching, assimilation of that culture into your life, when you assimilate a product into your life,
Right.
that's
So
where you're going
you're
wrong.
really just taking in a consumerist product.
Yeah, like McDojos. I mean,
Yeah.
whether you train hard or not, like whether you're that 16-year-old who's flipping that bar around, but you still got a hard body and you can still throw a punch really hard, better land that one punch.
Right.
You better make it count.
So I don't know if this is it, but oh, is it not showing correctly? God dang. Oh, there
Oh,
we
it's
go.
good. That's good. Yeah, I'm seeing some gifs.
So,
I'm
this
calling them
is
gifs, by the way.
what is that?
Nothing.
Oh, this is Kalari Payatu, which is an Indian martial arts style that was banned by the British when they took over, but they got away with handing it down to future generations by
Altering
saying it
it.
was a dance, quote unquote. Well, I don't know if they
Yeah.
really altered it as much as they were just like, no, it's only a dance, don't worry about it, sort of thing.
Well,
So
the same thing happened in Japan.
true.
You know, post World War II, they couldn't study martial arts because we didn't want the same startup thing on the people that just attacked us. We didn't want them like, it's just so stupid. Like how that whole, ugh, you know, but whatever. Like, yeah, that whole like, you can't do this. You can't have this aspect of culture a part of you. Okay, fine. Well, we'll just make it a dance.
No, but I mean, that was very much like part of not just martial arts in Japan, but that was martial arts were also part of the problem in which it was really sort of brainwashing sort of thing. Because to this day, there has been no other culture that has that basically taught its entire population to prepare itself for war as the Japanese population had. The only thing that comes close right now to that is North Korea today, in which every day they live in the fear that we will attack them. And I'm not even talking about current events. I'm talking about like every single thing. It's always American imperialists. They're going to try to attack us at any moment.
Yeah. I was I saw a documentary on it from this Brazilian guy who he was fortunate enough to get some media out there. He is so far gone brainwashed by them, and he truly believed that everything he was saying about Kim Jong Un and Kim Jong Il at the time, and it's just wow. That the compulsory military service is just crazy
Yeah.
for North Korea. So with that, with fear, more or less, is a tool. It's an aspect. You can make it for your personal progress and how you train yourself. You can make that a tool. One of my things for the interview questions, what's your greatest weakness? Fear of failure. Oh, that's a good one because fear of failure drives you to succeed.
Yeah.
But it's also something that can be used against you. You know, that be careful with like how you phrase that sort of thing. But
And that's the other thing. Well, we can cover that another
yeah,
day.
yeah,
But yeah.
yeah.
Um, but no, yeah. I mean, so ultimately, with my idea that I mean, so do you think that for me, with this fear that I have,
Mhm.
and however it manifests itself in whatever ways, do you think that training is even going to help me at all then?
Nope,
Okay.
nope. Uh, okay. Yes, I think when you say help.
Man, now you're backtracking, man. Now you're backtracking.
I think because I had to think about the scope of what you're saying when you say the word help. So if you think of the word help as it's going to prevent future occurrences of, like it's going to alleviate fear, no.
Yeah.
Training in martial arts is not going to make you a sociopath. It's not going to make you a psychopath. It's not going to make you a hardcore, battle-hardened warrior that experience would. If you want that sort of nightmarish lifestyle, that's up to you.
No, I mean, I'm not saying I'm trained to be a psychopath per se.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be. I just want to train to the point to where I can manage those fears. I'm not expecting this to
Oh yeah,
remove fear all completely. I just want to be able to manage it.
absolutely. Then yes, by all regards, yes. Training ameliorates the fear of the unknown because it's no longer about your opponent. It's no longer about how tall, how short, how many weapons, a gun, whatever. When you walk in that path of the warrior and you accept death as being a plausible outcome for this circumstance, then yeah, if you accept death could very well be the end of this encounter, then fear is just I don't know anywhere. Like that's like I mean, there's like not people that are scared anymore. It's just you can get startled for sure.
Right.
You can get caught flat-footed. There's different like aspects of that, but like somebody just like totally like impressing and like creating this aura of like, oh my gosh, I live in a state of fear, or oh my gosh, their effect totally impacted me. Nope, nope, because you know yourself and you know how to get in there, and I mean, just like pressure points and like just boom, you put them down. If it doesn't work, whatever. Like I mean, there's not a matter of like you eliminate the doubt in yourself. You change aspects of fear to where you eliminate doubt in yourself, and the extent of the intent of your actions. Are you going to kill this person? If they continue to resist, are you going to kill this person? Are you going to hold them down? Are you going to break something? You start to answer those questions. If I was going to do that, and if it was in a certain way, if they chose to move, fight me, whatever way they were going to, just getting all crazy on, it's like, dude, you're going to break your, oh, there's your wrist. It's broken. um, you have answers. You have answers for situations, and that's where fear turns into fear of the unknown. So you have to answer for yourself. Are you afraid of what you can do? What level of fear are you working with? Are you afraid of what you can do, what they can do to you? Is it going to hurt? What are the consequences? This is all stuff you can educate yourself on.
Yeah.
But the real training in this martial arts, one of those questions was what you can do. That's what the training in martial arts is going to tell you. Only that training in martial arts. Sure, you could go to a gym and hit a punching bag all you want. You're not going to know, oh shit, when I rack this dude's head to the side and the the freaking anterior part of the brain slaps the side of the skull, knocks him out, sensory overload, boom. Yeah, that was just from hitting a bag in the gym. Sure, you can get a lucky shot. I mean, a lot of martial arts masters are going to tell you, oh yeah, it's totally possible. Like a beginner could totally get in there and nail my finest martial artist, my finest student.
Yeah.
They can say that. Uh, what's his name? Why am I pausing? Oh man, Ueshiba, Ueshiba, Morihei Ueshiba. Jesus Christ, the founder of Aikido
Yeah.
said, yeah, white belts are definitely capable of taking my black belt students and showing them lessons. They're definitely capable of taking in knowledge at a high level. That doesn't mean everyone can. That doesn't mean all lessons are going to go that way. But that doesn't mean you should judge someone by the color of the belt that they're wearing, by the
Right.
statue that they have. And then it's weird, man. Like, I, I don't feel that fear. I don't, it's not a matter of like, if I get shot, like, okay, that's the end. So a lot of people ask, and that's okay. This will tie back into your fear thing. I don't know if am I hogging the mic? Are we good
No,
here?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So people ask me what the latest book I read was, and it was this book that just delineated a long line of the samurai, and there was a good bit of the book devoted to the warrior's mentality and how it's not the idea that you're gonna die, that death is the end, that after that there's heaven, or after that there's hell, or after that there's nothing. That's not the end. It's the consideration of the possibility of death. That that key essence helps alleviate that fear. You have to be okay with your story ending right there.
Huh.
And that's why we're doing these podcasts. I mean, you personally, from my and what I've heard of you and like the impact you've had on other people, you've been leading a good life. I'm not saying like now's the time to end it. Like go get yourself into a fight, you know, like go get
I don't
reckless
know,
on
man.
it.
Sometimes you just gotta quit while you're ahead, man.
Right, right. No. But I'm saying like this white knuckled, you know, whatever I can do to hold on to life and health and happiness and just all this tensing. You build up the lactic acid in the muscles. That's not what it's about. That warrior mentality is that death can happen at any time. Just be okay with that. That was actually 2015 when I was on probation at the job that I'm at right now. And I would sit out front and read that book, and that whole warrior mentality thing really just because I was starting this new job, it was maybe working into a career, and I was like, this, it kind of gave me this like tar pit feel. And I thought, well, I mean, depending like how hard it's been in my life, at least I made it here. You get comfortable with if it ends now, sew up the past, sew up the problems that came with you to now, resolve them, and say you're still living.
Yeah.
You know, it's this fear of death, I think, that gets a lot of people. And so for yourself and in your training, find what it is you're afraid of. Because then you've identified the source.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? I think that is a good note to end the podcast on. All right, man. So